Hey guys, this is Sean McGarry coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, home of the Music Salon, where great things happen. Hope everyone's doing awesome out there. Got a fun little lesson today that's very useful, I think. How to solo with triads, okay? So, and also like how to play melodically with these little tools here. So I'll have a backing track and tabs to all this on my Patreon page, okay? So let's dive into it. So I was playing over in a key of B. Here's the chords I was playing, just like a B major, A sus, E major, back to B, that kind of thing, all right? So I'm gonna get right to this and let's try and dive head first into these ideas here. So these are really useful things, man. So first of all, we gotta figure out what key we're in, and we're really playing B Mixolydian. I'm not really gonna get into that too much because we didn't really do any scale work. Everything I played in that little intro was all from chord shapes, 0 scales. Okay, and that's the beauty of this stuff, is if you follow the chords, you can't go wrong. So I'm looking at this triad right here. Look at this, out of the cage system. So just start with those little ideas, right? You know, you just want to start with these chords. And there's so much gold in here. So, and again, I'm not going to break this down note for note, but I'm going to show you some ideas using these, what I played in the intro here. So when I've got this chord shape, I've got all kinds of things I'm seeing on my head. Okay, of course, the notes we're holding down. I'm seeing surrounding notes, okay, of the scales, but I didn't really play much, but I'm seeing it, okay? So one lick I like to do a lot is I'll slide up to this note, in the first note of the triad. That kind of thing, check it out. All right, there's a lick, you know, it's a great lick. One more time, sliding up, hitting all the notes of that chord. So you're singing the chord, you're thinking of your options. You can slide, you can bend, all these things within that shape, okay? Now look, I'm just taking the same idea, a whole step back, same chord shape. We're just copying and pasting. Oh, sorry. You know, I might do a variation of how I do this bend. The first time I might go. Second time. So here I'm going. Which is really keeping the same note, but it's kind of a cool effect. So first lick I'm doing. Sorry. With that E in there, then I'll do it again. But the E's on top of that triad, okay? Now look, I could do the same exact riff here, but maybe vary it up just a little bit so it doesn't sound quite so repetitive. So instead of doing that little lower part, I'll just go right to the... And look at that, when I do that bend, well, I'm resolving right on the E note of the triad, so I'm still in the triad. Now look what happens. Well, here's my resolve. Here's that A-shaped P chord right there. So it's really awesome. So I do that last lick. There's my E. Half step back is. There's your resolve. So all together, got, you know, a lick like this, something like this. This little lick I went. And the reason I did that is that was gonna set me up. I was seeing ahead of my next triad, okay? So I'm seeing this shape. Sorry, right here, it's attached to this chord, right? But there's my D shape. Sorry, I'm getting there's all kinds of little weird distractions going on here, so it's throwing me off. I won't bore you with what I'm seeing. But anyway, so now I've got my B shape, or my B chord, my D shape right here. So again, I did that little 6 up, I went. So look, when you do that, there's your D shape. You could resolve it like that, or think of this. Okay, then just play a lick off that, check it out. Look how melodic that is. So I'm just outlining that chord. right off that D shape. Same thing, a whole step back. Look, there's my A. All that stuff is right in there. And so again, all these ideas are right inside these little 3-note patterns, man. It's awesome. Okay, so let's back up here. So I started here off this D chord, this D shape, and I just did a little melodic pattern. Whole step back, same shape. Okay, now again, down here, do I want to do the same thing? I could, or maybe just do like a little variation of that. And there's your resolve. So it's all right there. And then the third thing I did is I used, I came back up the scale. So let's see here. I went, you know, I'm not sure exactly what I did, but I know what I was thinking. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to grab the next triad, okay, which is now my F shape. So here's my F-shaped B right here. Look at this. Okay, I'm thinking of this. There's A, and I'm thinking of this. So once you know all these little movements, it's so easy, okay? So now I'm up here, and I played this, I love this little lick. And now I'm kind of focusing on the major third. So here's a little thing. When you're playing this F-shaped B, it really doesn't matter what key you're in. This is always the major third with that middle finger. So when you have an F chord, and here's the first place we learn it, right? That's always your major third. That is a note you want to focus on. So if I play that note, check it out. It's just something real simple and melodic like that. So over that B chord, right, you can hum that. And that's literally out of the chord shape I'm thinking. Look, same thing here. Now when I go up here, again, I could do the same thing, but I just try to vary it up. Okay, and then my resolve is right there. So when I play that E chord, that resolve is right there. So the B's inside the chord. Now that's all, I just shoved a lot of information inside of a 10-minute span here, and I'll play a few more ideas. But I wanted to show you how important this stuff is. Like when you learn these a few inversions of triads and stuff, you will never run out of ideas for soloing, and you don't have to be married to the scales anymore. Okay, so I talk about this all the time on here, but I feel like a whole generation. I've said this a million times. I feel like a lot of guys like myself that grew up like playing guitar in the 80s and stuff were, I'm not gonna say taught wrong, but not taught the most efficient way. I was always taught, okay, here's a song, you're in this certain key, now just play the scale over it. And again, that's not incorrect, but I wish I would have known these things that I'm expressing to you, like, okay, you can play over every chord, you can target certain notes, it was just, here's your chord progression, bam, you gotta be creative with these notes. And that's cool, but it's not always the most, you want more options. There's a lot of options when you're learning to improvise and write and solo and all this stuff. So quick recap here. We're playing B, A, E. Okay, this works in any key. And I was finding licks off of these 3 triad shapes. Look at the first one. Okay, so here's B. Here's A. Here's E. And look, here's my resolve. Try this little exercise with me, just play. That's kind of the first thing you should really do. Play it up and down so it's real familiar with you, so you see these shapes, okay? And then the second shapes we did were, B, A, E here, and resolve. There's the B, so check it out. Again, you can make these into fun little exercises. kind of thing. Check it out. So you can make nice little melodies out of this stuff. Okay, so you're connecting all these little dots with these chords. And the third one I did was this F shape. So we got B here, A here, and then E all the way up here. There's your resolve. So again, exercises, licks, riffs, scales. Repeat. So one more time. And then again, make little exercises out of this. Right? I love those little ideas. So, I'm going B, A, E. When you play that B or that E right there, you're landing on the root of B, your resolve chord. And then there's your wrist. Okay, then when you get these little ideas down, then you want to mix and match. But like I said, you can play the same triad shape and play solos. But it's really cool when you start mixing and matching. So maybe I'll play my first lick on B right here. I'll go and then my next lick out of this shape. So check it out. Here's 3 variations of the triads that I just showed you. So here's E, here's A, here's E. Right, so again, here's E. So you're just mixing and matching. Okay, guys, I've got a backing track for this, tabs for that little intro thing on my Patreon page, and I hope you enjoyed this lesson because I think it's very useful as far as like just ideas to get out of ruts and stuff like this and not just play the scale. So thank you for watching, and if you got something out of this, please hit the like and subscribe button. And thanks again, and I will check you out next time.